Today, we're going to be going over some true Reddit horror stories, so let me know how you guys like these stories, and let me know what videos you guys want to see next. We're trying to hit that goal of 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so make sure to show some support down below. Let's get right into it. It pretended to be my mom. It was late at night. I was using my phone in the living room when my mom appeared from behind me. I was on the sofa and she stood behind it on my right side so I could see her with my peripheral vision. She said something pretty simple. "Go to bed." I said, "I'll go later." She responds, "No, you must go now." I respond, "Fine, just a minute." The second whatever that thing was turned around to leave, I felt my blood go cold in my veins, chills down my spine, and a horrible feeling of dread. My thoughts kept going, "That's not mom, that's not mom, that's not mom." So I immediately got up to catch it. It ran away. So I chased it down the corridor. It ran to my mother's room. I was right behind it, so I turned the lights on. My mom was asleep in her bed. The thing is, when she walks, she makes a lot of sound. That thing made none. And her bed at that time was super creaky. There's no way she got in it without making any sounds. Anyway, when I turned the lights on, I saw my brother in the room. I asked him if he came to the living room. He said no. I asked him if mom got up and left the room. He said, "I've been watching her the whole time because I'm using her phone and don't want to get caught. She didn't even get up." So I was mortified, but that thing that took my mom's shape and voice was insisting I go to the bedroom. So I did. When I entered, I saw my sister on her bed. She was sitting up with her blanket around her. The first thing she told me was, "Thank God you came in here." This whole time, I kept hearing knocking under both our beds, and it stopped the second you came into the room. I still can't tell what the hell that was. There was no gas leaks, and I wasn't sleepy because I had slept the whole day and woke up for the night. Don't open the door. Don't open the door. Whatever you do not open the door. They'll tell you whatever you want to hear. When you're hungry, they'll say they have your favorite food. When you're thirsty, they have a big glass of that drink you haven't had since that trip to Italy. They copy your voices. Your mother, your father, your sister, that ex you haven't talked to since that horrible breakup. No voice is safe. You can't trust anyone. It starts the same way every time. 3 knocks on the door. It's always 3. No more, no less. The same rhythm too, like it's systematic. They then proceed to say a greeting in whatever form is most familiar to the voice they're mimicking. Doesn't matter the language, they will sound exactly like them, even with those same inflections that you only notice when knowing someone for many years. That kind of familiarity, where you can pick out someone's voice from a crowd. That's how they got my friend Tom. He called me one day, saying that his mother was outside his closet, knocked 3 times before offering him his favorite home-cooked meal, shepherd's pie. He called me, confused. He was in his walk-in closet with the door closed looking for something when this all happened. His mom lives nowhere near him, and she's not one to show up unannounced. She also always has a telltale knock whenever she's about to enter somewhere. It's never 3 knocks. It's never 3 knocks. Something in my gut told me there was something wrong with this situation. I just knew there was. He called out to his mom, and she answered in her perfectly cheery voice, saying that she doesn't normally drop by unannounced and that she brought shepherd's pie, that it's been so long since she's seen him. His confusion cleared. He told her he was opening the door. I screamed over my phone to not open it. Dear God, I tried to tell him to not open it. I heard the click of the doorknob, followed by the thud of his phone hitting the ground. An ear-piercing scream was shoved into my ear, causing me to recoil from my phone. The sound of ripping and tearing, followed by gurgling from Tom, caused me to freeze in abject horror. There was brief huffing and puffing from something large on the other side, followed by a crunch, and the phone call ends. I sat there for a moment, the realization of what just happened flooding over me. Fear started to rise, my heart beating in my throat. I was about to call 911 when 3 rhythmic knocks came at my door. My wife's voice echoed from the other side, faster than it should be, like she was in a rush. "Honey, I bought that wine you love." I trembled, my hand lowered to my side. My wife was half the country away on business. There's a body on the back porch swing. Hey y'all, I've never been much of an internet poster guy, but I'm out here for the next week or two, and I had to share my find. Just a little info ahead of this, my in-laws recently purchased some land with a relatively old but nice house. It's in southern Indiana, outside Bedford, and used to be for farming corn. I've been coming out here every few months, and I spend a couple of weeks when I do, renovating it. This week, I was focusing on one of the upstairs rooms. I was removing plaster that was over one of the walls, and I found a little slide closet. It was about 3 foot by 3 foot, but it had a little keyhole on it. I went to open it, expecting it to be locked, but I guess the lock was weak or wasn't set because it opened without issue. Thank goodness, because the only keys I have are for the front and back. Behind it was a little leather trunk with little mementos inside, odd knickknacks, kids' shoes with a pocket watch, and a picture of a young man with a much older gentleman. On the back of the photo was written Tom and Arnold. I don't know much about the prior owners, but getting this to their relatives could be cool. Now, the main reason I'm posting here is because in the trunk was a little notebook, which had little stories about a hero named Tommy having heroic adventures. Most are benign little kid stories, or have him swearing at his sidekick Arnold. Some are even funny. The last story kept me up last night, and I'm laughing at myself right now. But hopefully you all can too, and put my mind at ease. Haha. The last story is clearly written by someone older. Although thinking about it, it wasn't that they were older, or rather, that it had no childlike wonder in it. In fact, I think it best if I just transcribe it verbatim. There's a body on the back porch swing. A man been bothering Papa, and kept watching us from the crop. Papa went outside and pointed the gun at to them. I don't know what he was yelling. It was dark. I saw the man walk weird fast at Papa. He looked weird. His arms touched the ground. He grabbed Papa and Papa shot him. The man fell backwards onto the swing and Papa came back inside. Papa's on the kitchen floor and isn't breathing. He don't look hurt. The man looks like he's sleeping and is only wearing white nighties. There's a hole in his chest, but it's not red. There's nothing. Followed after, there's a much finer written sentence, as if written much later. There's no body on the back porch swing. Now I don't have service out here, and only have what most would consider dial-up. Yay, 87 KB download speed. But I went out to the back porch and there is a porch swing, although old and rotting. The paint is all flaked away or sun-bleached, except there's a hint of an outline where someone could have sat. Now that could just as easily be because someone did sit there regularly. But out a few yards, the land is owned by another family or something, and there's corn, as far as the eye can see. So I got the weirdest feeling in the pit of my stomach and took a break. I'm at a McDonald's about a 40-minute drive out, and using their Wi-Fi to post this, because I couldn't get it to post back there. Just wanted to get some other people's perspective on how silly a kid's story made me feel. I looked online and through the seller history, and there's nothing on this. In fact, the house has been moved between banks the past few decades. Anyway, I'll be out here for like 10 more days. Make me feel silly. My daughter is seeing something. My 26 male daughter, 3 female, is finally talking to where we can understand most of what she says. We recently bought a house and finished moving in. It's a nice quiet neighborhood outside of our next door Karen LOL. My sister and my wife said that they heard my daughter talking with someone in her room. They heard someone responding to her as well. Upon investigating, there was nobody there. I told them they must have been hearing things and she was just playing and practicing her speech. 2 days later, I had my first ever case of sleep paralysis. It was about 3 a.m. and I was drifting off to sleep. Shortly before or shortly after I fell asleep, I locked up and felt like I was being laid on. I heard a creepy exhale in my left ear that was really quiet at first and got really loud. I broke myself out of it by screaming, "Babe!" But I guess I didn't scream because my wife was still asleep. I've never had that happen, even in houses that were confirmed to be haunted. The following morning, I walked to my daughter's room because I'm sure it was the same thing she'd been talking to, because the presence was definitely an angry female. I started speaking so as to address the thing. I said that this is my house now and that they aren't welcome. I said that I will not be held down in my own bed and it will not terrify my daughter or talk to her at all. I said that I'm giving it the option to leave on its own or I would be calling a priest. This was mainly to give respect to it, since it was human at one point, and I wanted to give it that human option. After I finished speaking, the air felt lighter, and nothing happened for a good while. Fast forward 5 months later to tonight. My daughter has been inconsolably crying in her new room. We moved her across the house. I had been checking on her every hour, making sure she had what she needed, and nothing was working. My wife came in the room and started talking to her subscribent, and she uttered out that she was scared. When we asked what of, she pointed to the upper corner of her room above her bed and said, "She's so up there." We said, "Who is she?" Without an answer, I told her to come to me, face the corner she was pointing at, and tell it to go away. She happily did and turned back to me. I was chatting with my wife about it, and she turned around and said, "Where did she go?" So I repeated the question she asked me, and she looked around and said, "She's right there," pointing on the ceiling in between the two corners, now directly above her bed. I spoke to what I believe now is someone who might be attached to the house, saying, "I thought we fixed this issue, but I guess I'm gonna have to call the priest since you don't want to leave." I told my daughter that if she sees her again, to say go away. We left her bedroom light on and gave her some milk, and that seemed to have done the trick to get her to sleep. Does anyone have any advice on what this could be? How would I go about explaining this to a priest? Does this even require a priest? So many unanswered questions, but something is scaring my daughter, and I want it to stop. That is the end of the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys did enjoy this story, and let me know what kind of videos you would like to hear next, and if you want them longer or shorter. I really do appreciate the support, and would love if you guys dropped a subscribe or thumbs up, whatever. Anything would help. So, see you in the next one.